Hi everyone, welcome back to Creatively Crafted Life. This is Melanie and Happy New Year. Today we are going to start with our rooms or our craft spaces. And I'm just going to give you a quick pan over my space so you can see the state that it's in. I have piles on the floor. I have piles that have avalanched over. Shelves are not looking too bad. They look okay. That's looking okay. Let's pan down to the desk. I've got lots of stuff on the desk, way more stuff than I would like. All leftovers from working on my December daily album. I've got piles of stuff along the tops which shouldn't be there. I have carts in the middle of the pathway. I actually have too many carts, so I don't really have a home for this one. So we need to deal with some of that this year. But we talked about this a lot in our prep leading up to this. Okay, let me go over here actually. You now have a general idea of what my craft room looks like at this moment. It clearly needs some work, and that's what we're going to tackle. Let me go over to the desk and we'll talk about our approach. Okay, so now that you've seen the state of my craft room, let's have a little pep talk before we get started. And I do want to remind everybody that everybody's circumstances are different and you may be at a different stage, and that is okay, right? You're walking your own journey. I'm walking mine. I'm just going to take you along with my journey, and hopefully somewhere along the way you can pick up some tips and tricks and stuff that can work for you, and I will try and encourage you in your endeavors. Let's talk about our book. I did make some notes in my book for this next step, and I don't want to just say week, because for some of you this may take longer than a week to complete, and that's okay. I'm hoping to get it done this week and try to have weekly videos for you guys. I can't say that that's always going to be the case because sometimes life happens, but that is my plan. I would encourage you though that if you are going to play along, that you finish the stage before you go on to the next video. I think if you don't complete the stage that we are at and you move on to the next one, you could feel very overwhelmed and start feeling like you're quote unquote behind and all that kind of stuff, and we don't want to do that. We want to stay in a positive frame of mind and always be heading in the direction that we want to be heading in. So before we get started on this, I just want to talk again and remind everybody what our goals are. So this may be different for all of you, and again, I'm just going to speak for myself, and hopefully it resonates with you. So my goal is to craft in an area that is efficient and functional based on my own personal definition. This is not Pinterest worthy. This is not some organizational guru who says you should do something some way. It is not, you know, one of the crafter celebrities room that looks amazing that's going to define this for you. You have to decide for yourself what is an efficient and functional room, and that's what we are headed towards. I hope that makes sense. I also want to remind myself why I love to craft, right? If the whole purpose is to set this up to craft, I need to remember why I love to craft as also motivation for me to get this done. So I love to craft because number one, it's fun. I love it. It's enjoyable. It's also a stress reducer for me. It gives me a chance to step away from my work and escape for a little bit and recharge, and that's kind of what I call it feeds my soul. It basically satisfies some sort of need in me that needs to be creative. And then there's the fact that I like to make things for my friends and family that hopefully brings them joy and a smile to their face. And then the last reason why I craft, I'm a big scrapbooker, is I want to preserve my memories. So I would encourage you to just take a minute, define what your goal is, define why you are doing this so that you can keep that in mind as we go forward. And if you write it down, you can go back and refer to it every time you go into a crafting session, just to reiterate that point. I did write this out here as well because I've heard a lot of people say that they spend so much time organizing that they never get to craft, and I would like to promote the idea that I organize to craft, not to organize indefinitely. And our goal, I think, should be to get our room to a place that is functional so that we can craft. That doesn't mean that every single pocket, every single stamp, every single piece of paper is in its most perfect spot, right? We need it to be functional enough that we can craft and that we can spend the time doing the things that we love, right? So we're not striving for that Pinterest worthy photo, right? We're striving for why we like to craft and what our goal is. I hope that makes sense. And the other thing I want to remind you all is to set yourself up so you cannot fail, right? So this goes back to the point where I was saying, if you're not finished the first step that I'm promoting today, don't go on to the next one until you're done, right? That is only going to lead you down a path that you're not going to be happy about. So don't set yourself up to fail. Set yourself up so that you cannot fail. If you have unrealistic goals, or mini goals, if you will, you run the risk of failing. And so don't do that, right? So if it's not realistic for you to spend an hour organizing your craft room today, what is realistic? If it's 5 minutes, then set yourself 5 minutes. Put the timer on, go into your craft room and work for 5 minutes. And then you can assess and say, well, you know what? That went really well. Let me try another 5 minutes. And you'll find that just completing what you set yourself out to do is going to motivate you to do more. At least that's how it's been for me. What's our first step? I'm a big believer in you need a clean workspace and you need a path through your craft room. You need a clean workspace, not just so that you can craft, but you also need a clean workspace so that if you are sorting and going through stuff, you have a place to do that. It is more comfortable to sit at a chair or stand at a desk than it is to sit on the floor. And it's easier to set up different organization tools to work on a desk than on the floor. So I really think this should be your first step, is make sure your desk is clear and that you have a path around your room. Now, why a path around your room? If you can't walk around your room, you can't get to anything, right? So that doesn't mean there can't be anything on the floor. It just means you have to be able to navigate around your room. As you saw, I have quite a bit of stuff on the floor. For the most part, I do have a path. I just need to tidy up a few things. So that is going to be our first step this week, right? We're going to have a clean work surface and we're going to have a pathway through our workspace. There are some tools that I recommend that you have in order to accomplish this. And these are going to seem a little bit obvious. You are going to need a trash bag. I guarantee if your room is anything like mine, you will have trash that needs to leave the room. I also recommend that you have a box or a bin or something that is designated for recycling. Similar to the trash, if you've got recycling items, you need to have a place to put them. I am a big believer in bins, baskets, bags, anything to contain stuff temporarily, okay? So if I don't have a home for something, rather than just place it on the floor, and trust me, I have those piles, right? You saw them. One of them tipped over. It looks messy automatically, right? If you don't have a home for it and you got these things stacked. If you put it in a bin or a box, and it doesn't have to be, you know, something like this. It could be an Amazon box. It could be a cereal box. I don't know, like just anything that you have access to that will containerize stuff will help you make your room look immediately better. Once you containerize these things, it automatically lends itself to looking more organized, even if this bin is full of a mix mash of different things, okay? The other reason why I like bins is that this now defines a set of items that we could work through in one session. We could pick this basket up, move it to our clean desk, sort through it, figure out where it's gonna go, and then we have an empty bin and we move on. Depending on how far you go, you may need some sort of cleaner and some sort of rags to dust and wipe up messes or whatever else that you've got going on in your craft room. This may not be a today kind of thing. This may be, you know, in a few days, but it is nice to clean when you have a clean surface. So like once your desk is clean, wipe it down, clean it up so that it is ready to go. Yes, it will probably get dirty again, but that's okay. At least at some point you know that it was cleaned. And the other item that I'm not going to pull in here, and this will depend on how much floor space you will end up having for your pathway, but you may want to vacuum. So I often will vacuum just that clear pathway just so I feel better about it and it looks better. So why not, right? Our plan of action. So how are we going to implement this? If you have designated spots for things, you are going to put them away. So for instance, I have a tray of washi. I have a designated spot for all my washi. It is going to go in those containers. This is embossing powder. I have a drawer currently where I keep all my embossing powders. It will go in there. I recently made some purchases for these particular bins that have a very definite purpose, but I do not have a home for these yet. These are going to go in a bin. Make sense? So if they have a home, it needs to go in the home. If it doesn't have a home, it needs to go in a bin. And if it has a home but it's overflowing, you're also going to put it in a bin. So we are basically going to find a temporary home for everything if it doesn't have a permanent home. That doesn't mean that that permanent home is the ideal solution. It's just what is there right now. A couple strategies I want you to think as you go through this. Use a timer and work in allotted increments. For me, 15 to 20 minutes seems to be a good amount of time for getting something done. What I will do is I will look and assess my craft room. I will say I am going to put away all my Christmas embellishments, let's say, and I will set the timer for 15 minutes and I will focus very determinedly on getting those items done within that 15 minutes. Now I always set myself up, remember, set myself up so I cannot fail. I will make sure that whatever my goal is, I can get done in my allotted amount of time. Once the timer goes off, you can assess the situation. If you feel good about it and you have more time, you can do another 15 to 20 minutes. If that's all you have, that's good. You've accomplished what you set out to do and you can then continue to proceed the next time you have 15 minutes. Now, I just picked 15 minutes. If you only have 5 minutes, the same principles apply. When you are finished your session, all trash and recycling leaves the room. Trust me on this. You don't want it sitting around. It's just going to clutter up your space anymore. And if it's trash, it shouldn't be in your room, and recycling, why not get it to where it needs to go? If you have a ton of stuff that needs to be sorted through, you may want to set up pre-labeled boxes or bins. So you may want to set up on your floor, for instance, a bin for tools, a bin for embellishments, a bin for paper. And that way, as you're going through things, you could put it in those bins and already get a head start on sorting out your stuff. I talked about this already. Container everything. Put everything in a container is what I'm trying to say. It's just going to look so much neater. Trust me on this one. And focus on today's objective, right? Our objective is not to get your craft room entirely sorted out today. Our objective is to have a clean desk and a pathway. If something is taking you too long to put away, bin it, right? If it's going to take you 2 hours to go through your Christmas embellishments to put it away, just stick everything in a bin, call it Christmas, and put it somewhere. Now, you're going to have to stack boxes likely if you have a lot of stuff, and that's okay, right? Just make sure you have a pathway to walk through your room when you're done. Make sure you label the box or the bin, you know, use a pen or some paper and some washi or stickers or whatever it is that you've got to label it. If you have a ton of stuff, you may want to start a sheet and just make track of what bins you have and where, if you have indicated, for instance, you know, I've got a Christmas bin or something like that. And the other one is don't overthink this, right? If you find that you're getting stalled or you don't know what to do, just put it in a bin, a bag, a box, and move on, right? This should not take you forever to do, right? I mean, it may take you longer than a week, depending on the amount of time you can allocate to this, but I would hope that it would not take you months to do this, right? Again, we're just focusing on cleaning the desk, clearing the desk, and making a walkway. Some of you may already be here. So some of you may already have a perfectly organized desk, and you may have a clear pathway, and you are wanting to organize different areas of your craft room. Obviously, if you feel compelled to do so, go ahead and start. Or I would encourage you to do something fun and creative instead of organizing, and then pick up next week with the next video. I just want to reiterate, for those of you that have a more involved journey, please, please, please don't compare yourself to me. Please don't get overwhelmed or frustrated trying to quote unquote keep up. Work at your own pace. Tackle what you can tackle. Remember to set yourself up not to fail. You will get there slowly but surely. I have full confidence that you will do that. And remember, this is your journey. It's not my journey, it's your journey. I'm just here hopefully to encourage you along the way. Speaking of which, I am going to create a Facebook group. It will be called, I think, An Organized Crafted Life, and at least that's what I think it will. I'll leave the name up here so that you can look that up. I would encourage you to join. It's a great way for us to have a conversation or communicate with each other. I would love to see before and after pictures if you feel comfortable sharing that. And yeah, I'm really excited about getting to know you all a little bit better. So please check it out. It's under A Creatively Crafted Life. It's a group that will be called An Organized Crafted Life. I think that's it. Take a few minutes to jot down some notes if that's what you're doing. Make sure you go back and remind yourself of everything that you thought about over the past weeks leading up to this so that your frame of mind is in the right space. And before I sign off, you're probably all wondering, am I going to show you my room? Well, I haven't done it yet, right? You literally just saw it. I am going to post a video once that is done, giving you a quick overview. So I'm not sure exactly how that's going to time out. It's just going to show up. So if you haven't already subscribed, please do so and be on the lookout for that. I believe there's a little bell that you can click so that you can be notified when the video goes up. Okay, I think that's it. I talked plenty today. Let's go do this. And until next time, happy organizing.